Hey, man, this is the first pregame Q&A of the year, right? We're doing a pre-week one Q&A. Awesome. We've made it here. It's been a long time, and boy, what a week to come back on. Browns versus Panthers, the return of Baker Mayfield, all that stuff. But we got questions. I hope I got answers. Sometimes I don't, but I hope I do. I hope I do have answers for y'all. But we're going to start with Chili Dog, who says this. Do you plan on having a collab with a YouTuber for every opponent this year? I really liked the video the other day. It's always cool to hear their perspective. I hope to. The thing is that not all 32 teams have somebody who is, I don't want to say polished enough, but like experienced enough for me to think that me putting them on my channel would be helpful towards their growth, right? If you get something too early, sometimes you can be exposed to some criticism that people just expect. When you're on my channel, there's a level of polish that people expect. And sometimes when I have brought people in who are a little bit not at that point yet, it stunts their growth a little bit. Now, I don't want to sound like I got the biggest channel in the world. I really don't. But I don't want to do something, put somebody up to a situation where they're not ready for it. And not all 32 teams have people who are either A, willing to come on other people's channels and express their perspective in a space where it could be challenged. Even though I don't really challenge people's perspectives in that kind of scenario, but I can understand why somebody would be hesitant. Also, sometimes some teams just don't have that, right? Like there are some teams that just don't have a YouTuber or a guy that's willing to do that. But I am going to be looking for people, maybe some beat reporters, maybe, anybody I can get in contact to that I feel like is experienced enough at doing this to where they won't, put out a bad product or put up a bad showing for themselves, then I'm always down to do that. If you have people that you want me to talk to during the week of the game, please don't give me like somebody for week 10 right now because I'm not going to remember. But when the Browns play the Jets, if you have somebody you think wants to or would be interested, hit them up on Twitter, let them know that they should talk to me and let me know that I should talk to them. Bridge the gap if you are a fan of somebody you feel like should be on for whatever week. But yeah, man, I'm always interested to bring other perspectives on here. I don't want this to just be my perspective that dominates the channel. But I understand why that happens sometimes. The next question comes from Tim, who says, Q, do we sound as ridiculous as to other fan bases as Panthers fans sound to us now? We just blinded, or are we still blinded? And it seems to be popular opinion that the Browns are once again the bottom feeder when we see A1 quality. Look, man, a lot of the national perspective of the Browns is going to be due to some ill will out there towards the Browns having Deshaun Watson. Now, that ill will doesn't extend to teams that were just as willing to spend as much money on Deshaun Watson, just weren't successful at it, right? It's only the team that was successful at it that's going to get the brunt of the negativity for it. And that's what it is. But I do think there's been a level of perspective that a lot of people have lost with how good the Browns are. I think people are kind of iffy on Jacoby Brissett. I think by week 6, we'll have a better read on what this team is going to be because we'll have a better read of what the quarterback situation is going to look like. And I think things will come around nationally after that. The fact of the matter is that the Browns are an 11-win team. If the Browns are a 10-win team, if the Browns are a 12-win team, people can't say we're a bottom feeder because that's factually incorrect. So it's up to the Cleveland Browns to prove that notion wrong on the field. But thank you for that question. The next question comes from Hunter, who says, how bad of a season do we need to have for coaches to be fired on the hot seat? I don't think any of the main coaches, I don't think the head coaches going to get fired regardless of what happens this year, right? I think Kevin Stefanski is going to be judged off of his work with Deshaun Watson, and that's going to be going forward. I think Kevin's safe. Now, there could be a question of whether the offensive coordinator is going to be safe, right? There's been some disappointment there, with the offensive coordinator for the last couple of years, so maybe that's something that gets switched out. But Kevin's pretty safe. Maybe if he has bad games with Deshaun, he starts out next year with being on the hot seat, but I just don't think there's a high possibility of him being fired. But this is the NFL, also Cleveland Browns. Literally anything can happen. So, don't rule it out. Next question comes from the Joker, who says, if Jacoby Brissett comes out looking like garbage, are they likely to place Joshua Dobbs as the starter? He looked amazing every time he had the ball and could always make something happen. It is worth noting, y'all. I understand we had a lot of fun with Josh Dobbs in the preseason, but we also need to understand Josh Dobbs was playing in the preseason, and he wasn't playing against starters, right? I don't think he ever played against starters in the preseason. Week 1, Deshaun played against the starters that were out there for the Jacksonville game. Week 2, no starters played for either side. Week 3, Jacoby only got in the second. Josh Dobbs got in the second half. So, yes, Josh Dobbs did look good in the preseason. Josh Dobbs has always looked good in the preseason, but Josh Dobbs was also not playing against starting quality players. So temper your expectations for him. And I think the front office is fully aware of that. I think the coaching staff is fully aware of that. I think the fact of the matter is Jacoby Brissett's going to get 11 starts. I don't care how he looks. He's going to get 11 starts. There's going to be some packages there for Josh Dobbs, but Brissett's going to get 11 starts. That's my feeling on it. I don't see a scenario unless he gets hurt or unless he has like an awful interception to touchdown ratio, which I don't see really happening, that happens. Maybe this becomes a disaster, but if Josh Dobbs is starting at any point, that's not good. That's not good at all. The next question comes from Norman Baldwin, who asks me this. Do you think Njoku will be the Browns' leading receiver, and why is there more patience for Jordan Elliott than Schwartz? Well, this is what's interesting about this conversation, right? Because if you watch my channel, I had just as little patience for Jordan Elliott than I had for Anthony Schwartz, right? Because on this channel, we do focus more so than a lot of other places on the line of scrimmage, specifically on defensive tackle play. Right, like that's one of the things that I really like to evaluate and watch is defensive tackle play. And because I pay attention to it, I was able to be critical of Jordan Elliott. The thing is, not everybody pays attention to defensive tackle play that watches the football game, right? Your eyes could be anywhere else. Maybe it's on the opposing team's quarterback, where the ball is. Maybe you're not watching the line of scrimmage, and not a lot of people do, right? That's kind of a thing that people have to do on the rewatch, not when they initially watch the game. So it's not for everybody. So one, less eyeballs on Jordan Elliott and his failures the last 2 years. Two, it's really easy to see when a wide receiver is not playing well when they're dropping the ball, right? Because everybody sees that. Not everybody sees Jordan Elliott fail to anchor a double team. Not everybody sees Jordan Elliott getting pushed out the B gap. Like, not everybody sees when Jordan Elliott has a bad game. If Anthony Schwartz has a bad game, you see it because the ball's there, right? And most fans tend to watch the ball when they watch football, right? That's how most people watch it. And I'm not criticizing people for doing that, by the way. That's how you have to watch a football game on first watch. But that is how it becomes so where people are going to be more patient with Elliott because they don't see those flaws manifest and how they affect the game in real time like they do with Anthony Schwartz. They both should be allowed some measure of patience. Let's give Anthony Schwartz 3 years. He'd probably get 4. He'd probably get that whole rookie deal. That just is what it is. But yeah, that's part of the reason why. The next question comes from Rex Fortune, who says, do you think the Browns' defensive schemes will disguise their plays like DBs, linebackers looking to blitz, backing off, showing cover 2 pre-snap, playing cover 3 post-snap, and Baker consistently struggling to read defenses post-snap, and it seems that he's more prone to double clutching and showing and guessing more in the majority of defensive plays are disguised. Now, the Browns are going to disguise their plays because it's what most NFL teams do, but there's a difference, right? There's a difference between having a shell, and a shell is basically when the defense comes out, they will either be in a cover 3 shell, 1 shell, 4 shell. You know what I mean? Like, they'll show a shell. What the shell is basically how many safeties you see at the top of the defense, right? That's the shell. Sometimes you change out, but that's the shell that you're going to come out in. And yeah, they're going to disguise things. They're going to hide things. Joe Woods does that all the time. One of the things that you want to do is sometimes you're running odd coverages where you have it, there's like Cover 6 is a great example of an odd coverage where it's like one side is cover 4, the other side is cover 2. And you're trying to see which side of that play that you're going to have on each side, right? So which side's the 4 side, which side's the 2 side, that's what the quarterback's trying to figure out. And they figure out that post-snap. Sometimes you're going to cloud to certain areas. So it means you're going to send like an extra safety, an extra DB to certain areas to make sure you don't get beat deep on one side of the ball. A lot of teams like to take advantage of that if they have a really good X receiver, right? Let's say you have Tyreek Hill and you know a team's going to cloud to one side and cover 3. And you have Tyreek Hill, and this is what the Chiefs did all the time, right? Tyreek Hill is going to be the X receiver on his own island on the trips formation. So 3 wide receivers overbalance on one side, Tyreek Hill on the other. Since it's cover 3, and since they know you're running cover 3, they know you're going to cloud to Tyreek Hill. So you're going to send about 2 people to cover Tyreek Hill. Technically double coverage, but this is zone, right? This isn't man where you double cover, but this is double coverage, right? Because you're clouding to one side. So now that you clouded to one side, a lot of what the Chiefs did was run 4 vert off that, because now your entire defense is off balance. So there's a lot of things that the Browns can do to make Baker unaware. And that's what they're going to need to do, right? You want Baker to be double clutching the ball because that's when he's not confident and not at his best, right? When he's at his best is when he's quick with it, releasing the ball, and confident with his reads. You don't want him to be confident with his reads. You don't want him to know where the ball is going. And I think this Browns team knows that more than anybody. But that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Thank you for the question. The next question comes from William Zen, who says, if the Browns win the Super Bowl this year, will Goodell ever hand out anything besides indefinite or lifetime bans for violating personal conduct policies? I don't see why that would change. Look, if Goodell wanted Deshaun Watson to have no shot at making the Super Bowl, and he would have suspended him indefinitely. But the fact that he did not do that to avoid whatever he wanted to avoid shows that, he don't really care that much. And I think people need to understand. The league does not care about how you feel about anything. They just care about your attention and your money. That is what the NFL cares about. You know what I mean? I'm not here to tell you that's right or wrong. I'm here to tell you that's what the league cares about, is your attention and your money. And the fact is, if Deshaun Watson makes the Super Bowl, you still going to give him your money. And you're still going to give him your attention. Maybe more so than ever, right? So I don't think they care. Will it be a bad look for the league? Sure. How many bad looks for the league has the league had, and it's done nothing but grow the league? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't going to be the domino that destroys the NFL, and I think they're confident in that. And the fact that, again, whenever you look at a decision the NFL makes, understand their number one priority is not how you feel. Whether you think it should be or not, it's not. It's about money. It's about your attention. And it's about, your ability to spend money. That's what they care about, right? The next question comes from Stingray, who says, are Browns fans really the only people who don't think Carolina is good? It's just insane how the narrative of the national media has flipped Baker from his horrible on the Browns to now where he's the underdog to destroy a great Browns defense. Yeah, man, look, man. This is how narratives work, right? People feel sorry for Baker Mayfield because of how the story came out, even though that's not necessarily the truth of how the story really came out. They feel sorry for Baker Mayfield. They see him as the victim in this situation, whether that's true or not. This is how he's being portrayed, and people are going to have sympathy for him. And when you have sympathy for somebody, you want to find every reason why they can succeed that's possible, even when it's might not be the most logical situation, right? That's just what's happening, right? People have sympathy for Baker Mayfield. The narrative is pointing in Baker Mayfield's direction. So, people are kind of, blinding themselves to certain realities that kind of counteract that narrative so they can still believe in it. And we'll see what happens, right? The Browns can make this an undeniable thing to get off of week 1 on the field. It's up to them. It is up to the Cleveland Browns to change all that, right? The next question comes from Christian, who says, will the Browns improve the 4th down conversion rating from last year? I remember that was a team strength 2 seasons ago. Think with Jacoby Brissett. He's pretty good on 4th down. 4th and short, he's pretty good at that, right? Because he's just a big body. If he needs to run, he can run for 2 yards or 3 yards. And he's good enough at avoiding sacks at times. that he can keep play long enough. So yeah, I think they'll be better at fourth now. Next question comes from Doomsday Prophet, who says, "Hey, the Browns are in the position of the bad guys in this league. Do you think we should embrace that role, or could it give the team defense an edge?" I think it's best that we ignore it, to be honest with you. You know, I'm not here to play into the bad guy, good guy narrative. I'm just here to talk about football at the end of the day. And that's kind of how I'm going to handle this, right? Like maybe the Browns aren't going to be seen in the most favorable light, and people are going to say stuff that's not necessarily true, and I'll have to combat that, right? And that becomes unignorable. But as far as us embracing being the bad guys, like I don't think there's a reason to do any of that, right? The play on the field will speak for itself. And if people want to vilify the play on the field, they can do that, but the results will speak for themselves. So if this team's winning, this team's winning. Ain't no reason for us to embrace anything other than wins. If this team's losing, this team's losing. Ain't no reason for us to embrace anything other than what's going to make this team better. And it's not going to be embracing that they're the bad guy. It's going to be playing better football at the end of the day. So that's just my mindset as a fan coming into this. I know other people are going to think differently. I'm not into the us against the world stuff that a lot of people are into. So maybe you just think differently than me. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel coming into it. But thank you for the question, and thank y'all for the questions. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.